everyone, and welcome to Cities Skylines 1, Episode 1 of Thunder Bay. I'm your host and creator, Legio, and if you like what you see, you know what to do down below. It's just the typical YouTube stuff. So yeah, if you're a regular follower of mine, you've been following the channel, you'll probably notice that I'm not doing Cities Skylines 2 content, and it's a pretty simple reason, and I don't think I am the only one who feels this way. I gave Cities Skylines 2 as much of a chance as I could, and I just kept getting frustrated with the limitations of it at its current stage. I do want to say I think that game will someday be something great. Like, the bones are good, but it just needs more time, and it needs to be fleshed out, and I was getting impatient. And what essentially was the final straw that broke the proverbial camel's back was when they launched the PDX mods. The city I was working on, which was a reimagination of San Francisco, and I was enjoying the concept of it, don't get me wrong, I was enjoying that in all of its limitations. When they launched the PDX mods, that city more or less broke, because I was using mods from the Thunderstore, and then when I loaded up the PDX mods and tried to replace it, all the plot the growables and all the other stuff I put into that city essentially didn't work anymore. I was getting gray blocks where buildings were and all that. And I know someone in the comments is going to say, well, you could probably fix that. You're right, I probably could. I just didn't want to. I lost the inspiration for that city, so to speak. Which was sad and frustrating because I was enjoying the concept. Like I said, it was an interesting build. But, you know, I came to the crossroads, and then I came to the decision of, well, what do I do next? And I wanted to do a homecoming, so to speak. I missed Cities Skylines 1. I missed all the tools and assets that I had in this game. And as soon as I opened it up and started building in it, it was like I'd never left almost. I really, really do enjoy Cities Skylines 1. It still feels fresh to me. I'm not bored with it in any sense of the word. So I came back, and coming back, I was trying to figure out what kind of city I wanted to build, because I've built multiple cities on this game, none of which you'll ever see because all the saves were broken and I didn't feel like saving them. I'm lazy like that. So I was trying to find inspiration for what I wanted to build, and I asked myself a question: which style city have you really never built, and do you want to do something similar to San Francisco? And I decided, yeah, I want to do something where I reimagined a city, because that was fun. It gives me a good template to what to work with, and it's just kind of interesting to me. So I settled on the Tampa Bay region, and there's a couple reasons I landed on Tampa Bay. Three main ones. First, I wanted to do a Florida-style city. I tried one when I first got Cities Skylines 1, and I did enjoy it. But I haven't built one since, so it'll be new and interesting for me. I also watched $2.20's Miami build, and it looked really good, so I want to do something similar to that, and we'll see how that turns out. I don't know if I have his skill, but we'll see. Also, I really like the topography of the Tampa Bay area. I like that it has a big old bay in the middle of everything, and then these communities that are disconnected because of the water, but then they're connected because we had man-made structures connect them. I find that interesting. Also, I do regularly visit Tampa Bay area. It's so awkward to say. I visit the Tampa area quite often. I like going down there. We have friends that have family down there, and we're close enough that we go down there and visit them all the time. So I'm fairly familiar with the Tampa area, and I gotta say, I love it down there. That's my future retirement home, I hope. I'm from the Midwest, so going to Florida is a huge treat for me. But anyways, yeah, we settled on the Tampa Bay area. You're going to see a lot of Google Earth images. If you're not familiar with the Tampa Bay area, it's really unique. And like any Florida city, it's poorly designed in some regards, in my opinion. So the idea I have behind this map is I'm going to make a Tampa, Florida-style city, and I'm going to give it better infrastructure with public transport and my take on making and improving the area. So that's kind of the overall goal. It's going to have some rough spots in the city. It's going to have some rundown areas, some projects, so to speak. It's going to have some high-class areas with mansions, We're gonna have beaches. You know, imagine a Florida city, and I'm gonna try to get it in there. So before we get too far into the build, I wanted to give a shout out to the map creator, who is a Slow Ride 68, I believe. The map I'm using is the St. Petersburg, Florida. That's how you'll find it on the Steam Workshop. And low-key map, didn't even get a review from Bonbon, which is kind of crazy because the bones of this map is pretty good. It's just a little rough around the edges. So when I open it up, I just smoothed some things out, changed a few things here or there, minor tweaks, and I think this map is going to work great for us. Really happy with it. So thank you for the creation, sir. You did something I can't do. I suck at creating maps. But with that said, let's start talking about what we're doing on screen here. So we start off this build by first building out our major infrastructure, such as the highways, the rails, and the metro lines. And I do this for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, the biggest reason is I've always found it easier for me to get these major things built and then build the city around them. It always ends up looking a little better for me. I don't know if I'm the minority on that or the majority on that, but I've always found it just a little easier to get all my highways built and then build the city around it. It just ends up looking better. Two, I know that realistically, you're gonna demolish neighborhoods and buildings to build highways. Eminent domain's a thing. And you'll demolish buildings to build metro lines. Like, I know that's the reality of our world. I just hate doing it in my game. So I said it early in the episode, and I just want to really re-emphasize that this is a reimagination of the Tampa Bay area, not a recreation. And if you're familiar with the area and watching what I'm doing on the map, you probably already figured that out, because I'm not following the road layout at all. I'm going to be creating my own road layout. I'm going to be doing my own thing, just with the flavor of Tampa Bay in mind, so to speak. The way I like to describe this is what Tampa would look like if I had God powers and could build whatever I wanted, essentially. So with that in mind, there's going to be a lot of differences, but that's okay, because I can also justify it with saying Florida typically is the butt end of a lot of jokes on how terrible its infrastructure is, because they don't have a lot of public transportation, if any, down there. Like, the best public transportation in Florida is at Disney World, and that's just crazy to me that the House of Mouse has better public transit than a state government. In fact, I think they've actually outlawed some forms of public transit down there. I'm not too familiar with that, so don't crucify me if I'm wrong on that, but still crazy. But on this map, we're going to have plenty of public transportation. This is what I think Tampa Bay should more or less be. So you guys are seeing me go completely ham on these interchanges with the grass and the trees, and there's a couple reasons for that. One, Florida interchanges do tend to have a lot of foliage around them. They tend to be fairly heavily wooded and swampy in those areas. In this area later on, we'll have potentially a swamp in the area, because I think that'd be fun to build. So this area is going to be fairly heavily wooded, and Florida interchanges in general tend to have quite a bit of foliage on the edge of the cities, because again, it was swampland more or less at that point. So they didn't cut it completely back. They cut back what they needed. Also, it just felt really damn good to be able to do this again. It felt really good to have this much control over how something looked. Skylines 2 is okay with its forest brush, but it just doesn't compare to what we have in Skylines 1 right now. So we continue building out our infrastructure by spanning this body of water. That is Old Tampa Bay, if I'm not mistaken, and there is a highway that crosses it in reality. I believe it is Highway 275. I'll go to Google Maps and check it afterwards, but I'm pretty sure that's 275. And I've actually been on that bridge. I've crossed that body of water. And for the people in the Tampa Bay area, I don't know how you do that on a regular basis. That bridge freaked me out, because you're on it for a good little while, and it's just water basically with some buildings way off in the distance. It's kind of a weird feeling if you've never been on a bridge that's more than a mile long. So it freaked me out. I don't like bridges. So here we're right back to building another cloverleaf interchange. And I know these aren't the most exciting things in the world, but you know, I'm getting this stuff built now and done and out of the way so that later on I don't have to come back and build them. Also, I know my loops are kind of trash for these. I'm fully aware that building loops is not my strong suit in this game. In fact, if it wasn't for the network multi-tool, I probably would do everything I could to avoid building loops. Because what I'll typically do is let the tool give me the framework, and then I try to use Move It to touch it up a little bit, make it look a little smoother. But overall, I think that interchange turned out just fine. It's not the best interchange. You can tell some of the loops are bigger and smaller than the others, but that's okay. In real life, they're never perfect, so they don't have to be perfect here. The goal is for them to get from one road to the other safely and cleanly, I guess you could say. And I think they can do that. I think the heights and the slopes and everything are just fine the way they are. And when I start to fill this in with trees and everything, you can't even really tell. Everything looks good. I just know there's going to be some eagle eye commenter that'll be like, your loop looks weird. And I just want to get out in front of the mean commenter and say, yes, I know my loops are weird. It's kind of like the macaroni project you brought home in kindergarten that your mom put on the fridge and said was really good, but it wasn't. She just lied to you to make you feel better. So just lie to me and make me feel better about this one. What I'm doing here now is I'm just lining everything up with palm trees using the intersection marking tool. Kind of a time suck here. This took way longer than I should have let it. I didn't need to do this, but I thought it would look pretty, so I went ahead and did it. And then I start putting in guardrails in the area to just kind of detail and flush this area out and make it look a little bit better. This is one of the rare moments you'll see me actually do that on screen. Like I said, I don't like to watch people do that for too long. I find it boring because it's not new content. It's just kind of rehashing stuff I've seen before. I've seen YouTubers build those intersection markings. I don't need to see someone else do the same markings over and over. Now, if it's something new and interesting, I will watch it. And it's not to hate on anybody. It's just not what I find interesting. And that's funny that I say that while I'm sitting here putting 1,000 bits of grass down because someone is not going to find this interesting. But I love watching people place foliage. It looks fun and entertaining to me. It's just something that I can turn my brain off and sit here and watch. And I was trying to achieve something a little bit different with this interchange. Whereas the last one, I really filled up with trees and grass. This one, I was trying to leave some bare spots. Have little clusters of trees in places and little tufts of grass. And I think it looks really good. I'm happy with the way it turned out. That looks like an interchange I actually saw on Google Earth. Can't remember the interchange, but it looks like something I've seen. And then here, I just put a little pond. I don't really have any backstory to this whatsoever. I don't know. You could say it's the dirt they removed for a project or it's natural. I don't care. Whatever your headcanon wants to put here. I just thought a pond would look really good next to this interchange. And it does. I think it's going to look really good as things fill in around it. So now we're coming back to this bridge. And as you can see, we're working on the metro because, like I said earlier, I want to have a good public transit system. And I thought having a metro run in between those highways, looks good. I just like the look of that. It's probably the Chicago in me, having trains run in between highways. So I'm bringing that to Florida, I guess. So here's a little bit of Chicago coming to Florida. But I think it's very economic and ergonomic. Because you don't want to have a lot of bridges going over the water at different locations, so this just kind of combines them and puts them in one happy little line going across. It's a happy little line. A happy little mistake, as Bob Ross would say. Rest in peace. But yeah, it spans over, and now we're going to start getting the skeleton, so to speak, of our metro system in. And I gotta say, I'm pretty proud of the way this metro system is going to turn out. As I said before, I think, and if you're familiar with the area, Florida does not have good public transportation. So Tampa does not have a metro line that I'm aware of, at least. If they do, it's very well kept secret. So I had to build my own network, and I'm not very strong at building out subway lines and metro lines, like the system itself, but I think I do a really good job here. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. It's pretty straightforward, but there's also an intentional mistake, so to speak, and you'll see it here in a second. Not every stop connects up perfectly. You do have to get off on a stop and then wait for a train to come to go to another line. You'll see what I'm talking about here. It's hard for me to word that out, but I again put the metro in between the highway. I don't know if this is staying. It probably will. It probably will. Yeah, I think it'll probably stay. I'm not sure. I just like the look of that. That's kind of Legio, like enforcing what he thinks looks good onto you. So this little area right here, that's gonna be a terminating line. So there's gonna eventually be beaches out there. So I want to have a metro station near where the beaches are gonna be. And then we have another metro station here. And the reason I elevate a lot of these is Florida rains a lot. It rains a lot in Tampa. So in my mind, I thought it'd make a lot of sense to elevate these so that they don't flood. Because where I'm at in St. Louis, we do have a small metro network, and it goes underground, and recently it flooded really badly and it was unusable for like months. No one could go through the Forest Park Tunnel area, essentially, if you are familiar with that. So in my mind, with Florida raining as much as it does, especially in the Tampa area, they would elevate these tracks so that the water could run off those lines and not flood and ever be shut down due to that. I don't know if that's actually realistic or reasonable or even feasible, but in my world, that's what happened. So that's what we have. We did elevated metro lines, and I like the look of them. I don't like going underground for my metro networks. It feels like cheating. Like, I cheat a lot at this game already. Like, I use mods and I ignore my citizens' needs, which I'll talk about a little bit later. I do everything I can to not play the game as intended, but putting the metro underground is just one step too far. That's the hill I'm willing to die on. So here I'm essentially building a fairly important branch off of that main trunk, so to speak, of our metro line. It's not doing a whole lot right now. It's basically servicing an open field and some trees, but later on, as the city develops, I have plans for that to be a pretty densely populated area, and there's going to be a pretty substantial landmark to go in that area, so it's going to be justified where it's at. And then we get to this little section, and this was one of the more frustrating parts of this build, just trying to connect those two lines. I couldn't get it to look right on screen, so I ended up doing some work off screen. Sorry if you want to see that, and I don't even really get it looking how I want it to, so I'll probably end up reworking this area later on. I convinced myself that I'll come back later and detail it, and we'll see about that. So it was mostly just getting that connection made. And then here we kind of wash, rinse, and repeat what we did earlier with the bridge work. Build the metro line and then just use the network multi-tool to parallel the roads. I do know there's a parallel road tool. I didn't have it installed when I was building this because when I left Cities Skylines 1 for Cities Skylines 2, I lost track of what was going on in the modding community completely. Like, I didn't follow really anything with CS1. The only thing I would see on CS1 was on Reddit, and it's just like, look at how much better this is than Skylines 2. Like, that's literally all I had for Cities Skylines 1. So I lost track of how the mods were doing. And then when I came back, everything was broken. All my old cities would not load. I tried several times because I had the idea of showcasing a city that I built and was really proud of. Put a lot of time and effort into that sucker, and to lose it sucked. I was depressed for about 2 days losing that city. I have some screenshots, and if you're interested, I might make a little video montage of it sometime just to share it, because so much work went into it and I miss it. I really enjoyed that city. But here we continue on with building out the metro, and this is the thumbnail of the video, what I'm getting ready to build here. This is possibly going to be the most complicated thing I build on the map. I think it's going to be the most complicated thing right now. It took me quite a bit of time, because anytime you have rail and highway meeting in the same area, things get weird, because you want to ensure that your rail and your highways aren't colliding with each other. You can't have them intersect, because highways don't intersect with rail ever. That's a big no-no. You also want to make sure that the slopes on the rail isn't too steep, because otherwise the trains can't realistically climb them, or whenever they're coming down they have too much momentum and they lose control. And then when it comes to the highways, you want to make sure that nothing's at too sharp an angle, because then the drivers can't make the turn, and if it's too steep then it doesn't make any sense. There's a lot that goes into building interchanges that have rails near them, and anybody who's built them knows what I'm talking about. So, but I mean, just to pat myself on the back, I'm pretty happy with the way it turns out. I liked it enough to make it the thumbnail for the video. So when I set out to create this, I didn't know what I was creating. I really didn't. This was one of those projects I didn't have an image in my head. I had no reference in real life even. I didn't Google map anything. I just started building to see what I was going to get. This was literally throwing paint on the canvas and seeing what I got. And what I got was what I'm terming a beautiful monstrosity. But it makes sense. It functions. I watched as cars went and everything's connected. Everyone's happy. So ultimately, I think I did a good job on this. Let me know what you think of this thing. This is a Legio original. All the heights are good too. Like I checked, you'll see me check here. I take the little semi truck and use this little thing to make sure that the clearances are there. And I just keep adjusting the heights as I go. And just smoothing out the terrain. Like it literally is making feet by going inches, if that makes sense. I do a little bit and a big picture starts to take shape with a lot of little touches here and there. And then this ends up being the terminus for that highway. So it hits that main road down there, which is going to be a main street for this area later on. Because I kind of treat that street as like an anchoring point to get the rest of this built. And, you know, what I mean by that is it gave me a place to terminate part of the highway and then act as a border. And then once that was established, everything else was more or less just connect the dots. Besides this loop, it's still a terrible loop in my opinion, but it's there and it's serviceable, so we live with it. Perfection is the enemy of completion. But that's more or less the episode, guys. I just wanted to end by saying thanks for watching. I appreciate the support. I don't know how often I'll get these episodes out because my work schedule is crazy, and this is just kind of a pastime I do to you know, relax. So if you enjoy the episode, do the typical YouTube stuff down below. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe. That helps and makes me happy. Also, if you're a returning member and you're asking about the history lessons that I typically do, I'm going to do them a little less frequently because they do take time, and that is just the one thing I don't really have. If I have spare time, this is what I do, and that's really not a lot of it, so I don't get a lot done. So just be patient with me. I'll get built what I can get built. I do plan on finishing this city. I've not finished a city on YouTube yet. So this one I do plan on finishing. I have a very good idea of what I want to do with it, and I'm pretty focused as of right now on it. And I've got everything I need going for me to actually get this one built. But that's all I've got, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please do something to help my YouTube algorithm down below. And I will see you guys in the next episode.